Welcome back. How does the Eurozone remain intact and why do we care? Our guest today, Martin Edwards, PhD, Associate Professor at John C. Whitehead School of Diplomacy at Seton Hall University. Give us a quick economics lesson about what the Eurozone is and why it's important.
Sure. Well, what we have is we have 17 countries that now have a common currency. So, you know, the days of there being francs and Deutschmarks no longer exist. Okay, but the problem is that with the global economic crisis, it's been difficult to keep the zone together because countries are growing at different rates. Some countries are growing much faster, are growing slightly faster than others, and some countries don't have really appropriate economic policies. So markets are doubting whether those countries can actually remain in the common currency area.
So it might hurt a country like Germany to stay in with a country like Spain, whose economy is really hurting.
Absolutely. So it's sort of a Northern Europe versus Southern Europe divide.
Gotcha. Now, what's the impact here on the U.S.?
Well, the Eurozone is a huge trading partner for us. So it's, you know, to the U.S.'s interest to kind of steer the crisis in ways that it gets resolved. Obviously, we want the Europeans to handle their own issues, but you know, the ripples for trade and financial markets especially would be gigantic if there were more turmoil there.
So I guess when we read the headlines, or the Wall Street Journal, for example, and we look and see something happening with the euro, and we're trying to connect it in our minds with the U.S., is it that there's a ripple effect of the effect on trade and businesses here in the U.S. that do business over there?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, as financial markets get worried, they take money out of markets that are in danger and they put them into markets that are endangered. The U.S. has investments obviously investments over there. U.S. trades with companies over there. So all those issues get more difficult when there's economic turmoil.
Now you have two international organizations involved, IMF, I believe, and the BRIC, B-R-I-C. How do those play?
The BRIC countries are on the outside looking in. Right, the BRIC countries want economic stability, and so they want the Europeans to clean up this mess. Okay, the IMF is on the outside also as well. It is lending to Greece, but the bulk of the work is being done by the EU and the European Central Bank. So the IMF is contributing about 1/3 of the money as an international organization to economic adjustment programs in Greece, for example, but the EU is on the hook for the other 2/3.
Wow, now that's a complicated scenario.
Absolutely.
How does that play out in the political situation? You have a presidential election. We're talking about the economy. That's the big news.
Yeah.
How does a candidate explain this to a voter in terms of the impact and of our policies?
Right. You can't do it in 30 seconds. You can't do it in 5 seconds. All right. But what the Obama administration has tried to do is largely nudge countries from the outside, because the U.S. doesn't want the IMF, for example, to contribute more money. It wants the Europeans, who are, of course, wealthy countries, to handle this crisis on their own. And the problem is that, you know, if you think about it in sort of the bigger context, the Eurozone was never created with economic crisis in mind. So what we're seeing is, you know, it's sort of like they're building a fire department at the same time the house is burning.
Wow.
So the fire department is getting there, but we still have a long way to go.
Wow. Now, there's another side of this equation. We were talking yesterday about China embracing countries in the Middle East now, calling them the new economic engine. Does that have any effect on this whole Eurozone scenario?
Well, the good news is for emerging markets is a whole lot of assets in Europe, especially in the South, are getting a whole lot cheaper. So there's discussions about the Chinese buying assets that the Greek government wants to privatize. So there are huge investment opportunities for the BRIC countries, but they want to be, and quite sensibly, want to take advantage of those opportunities, but they don't want to dictate to Germany or to France how to clean up their problem, because Germany and France need to take the lead on this anyway.
Right. And are they?
We are getting some good news and some
mixed
some bad news. What the European Central Bank has done is made it so that it will purchase government bonds from countries that are in distress. Okay, so this is primarily Spain and Italy. Now, why do we care about that? Is that actually makes it easier for them to put their economic houses in order. Okay, that allows them time to adopt reforms. So the good news is we're stopping this proverbial fire from spreading. Greece, however, remains a sticking point because the Greek economy is in very bad shape. We have over 20% unemployment and a government that needs to cut spending, but can't politically because it's a coalition government.
Interesting. So when we look at this through the prism of the U.S., is there a concern that we're having to invest in all of this and put American money at stake?
Yeah. The U.S. is trying to make sure that the Europeans take care of this on their own. Okay, that every time the Europeans have asked for the International Monetary Fund to have more money, the Obama administration has blocked it because again they look at this sensibly as a European problem. So that's the issue for us moving forward. We're seeing some signs that the Europeans are taking the lead, but we're not remotely out of the woods yet, especially in Greece.
And does that mean we're a part of the problem if we're not contributing enough to fix it?
Well, you could say that, but for the Obama administration to go to Congress right now and say, the International Monetary Fund needs more money to help clean up the Eurozone, that's a project that's dead on arrival.
Yeah, I can
right?
imagine.
So they're for political reasons as well, they're trying to sort of work from the outside. But with the way that the European Central Bank is going to be purchasing these bonds, there's really no danger because that's just like the U.S. Federal Reserve, as we saw the other day with Bernanke, saying we're just going to start buying more assets because the ECB prints money.
Right.
So there's no danger of them running
out.
out.
There's a guarantee there.
Absolutely.
Complicated stuff, very interesting,
Yes.
but insightful. Glad to have you come along and explain that to the viewers. Look to have you back again soon.
Thank you very much.